टुडेज थीम्स एनालिसिस। आज का सबसे पहला टॉपिक है यूएस ऑफिशियल कॉल्स कॉन्फ्लिक्ट इन यूक्रेन मोदीज वॉर। सो ट्रम्प्स ट्रेड एडवाइजर accuses India of arrogance and profiteering. Democrats slam extra 25% sanctions on India, noting that China buys more Russian oil. Former officials call for renewed talks. अगर मैं इसके बेसिक कंटेक्स्ट के बारे में बात करूँ, द हिंदू जो है इसने एक रिपोर्ट पेश की है ऑन यूएस रिएक्शंस टू इंडियाज ऑयल ट्रेड विद रशिया एंड amid the Ukraine conflict, US imposed 25% secondary sanctions on Indian goods in addition to the earlier 25% reciprocal tariffs. Former US officials and lawmakers criticized India's stance. Key issues क्या हैं? US sanctions on India, extra 25% sanctions as penalty for importing Russian oil. Accusations: India is profiteering from Russian crude while refusing to cut imports. Statements made by US officials. Peter Nabora, Trump's trade advisor, claimed US taxpayers are losing because we have got to fund Modi's war. India accused of arrogance is not reducing Russian oil imports. Scott Bessent, who is a US Treasury Secretary, suggested that India was profiteering from cheap Russian crude oil, indicated India was delaying the negotiations and benefiting economically. So, what is the U.S. debate which has been mentioned over here? Democrats state that they attacked sanctions, arguing conflict is not about India but Ukraine. So, former diplomats suggested U.S. should resolve the trade dispute with India rather than escalating the tensions. इंडिया का क्या स्टैंड है इस पे कि इंडिया डिफेंड करता है रशियन ऑयल इम्पोर्ट्स एज अ मैटर ऑफ एनर्जी सिक्योरिटी. So argues that its tariffs are already low and sanctions hurt bilateral trade. So India seeks balanced relations with both US and Russia. Geopolitical dimensions क्या हैं? Reflects US frustration with India's neutral stance on Ukraine conflict. India's strategic autonomy versus US pressure. Larger debate क्या है? Global South's position in Western-led sanctions. Now, if we talk about the UPSC probable questions, तो डेफिनेटली ये इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस का एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट बन जाता है. ठीक है. एंड साथ ही साथ कहीं ना कहीं जो इकोनॉमिकल इफेक्ट है इंडिया पे, दिस इज़ ऑल्सो गेटिंग अफेक्टेड. सो उसके पर्सपेक्टिव में भी काफ़ी ज़्यादा रोल प्ले करता है. मेन्स एस्पेक्ट से आपका सबसे पहला क्वेश्चन ऐसे आ सकता है: इंडिया स्टैंड्स ऑन रशिया यूक्रेन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट demonstrates its strategic autonomy, critically examined in the context of US sanctions. दूसरा ऐसे आ सकता है: discuss the implications of US secondary sanctions on India's energy security and foreign policy choices. तीसरा ऐसे आ सकता है: evaluate how India's Russian oil imports affect its relations with the US and global geopolitics. आई टोल्ड यू कि इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस के एस्पेक्ट में जो इंडिया यूएस, इंडिया रशिया एंड सैंक्शंस डिप्लोमेसी है, ये इम्पॉर्टेंट है. देन इकोनॉमिकल एस्पेक्ट में इम्पैक्ट ऑफ टैरिफ्स क्या पड़ेगा, क्रूड ऑयल इम्पोर्ट्स क्या पड़ेगा, ये सब इम्पॉर्टेंट है. सो यू नीड टू लुक ओवर इट. नेक्स्ट आपका टॉपिक है इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ जम्प्स टू 4-month हाई ऑफ 3.5%. So the source of this is Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, that is MOSPI. Industrial growth, that is IAP, at 3.5% in July 2025, a 4-month high. Growth supported by manufacturing, electricity, capital goods and consumer sectors. सेक्टोरल परफॉर्मेंस की भी यहाँ पर बात की गई है, जहाँ पर बताया गया कि मैन्युफैक्चरिंग that grew over 5.4% in 6 months, which is high. Previous year it was 4.7%. Electricity की बात की गई है. This returned to the growth in July 2025 after 2 months of contraction. So there was a contraction in the electricity sector. Mining की अगर मैं बात करूँ, so this contracted 7.2% in July 2025. Fourth consecutive month of contraction, poor performance linked to weak monsoon and subdued demand. Capital goods भी ग्रो हुए हैं around 5% on top of high base of 11.7% in July 2025. So fabricated metals and electric machinery showed double digit growth. Non-metallic minerals products like non-metallic mineral products, they grew around 9.5%. So this was an indicator of rising investment. कंज्यूमर गुड्स की अगर मैं बात करूँ तो ड्यूरेबल्स हैं जिनमें 7.7% की ग्रोथ देखी गई थी इन 7 मंथ हाई, एंड नॉन ड्यूरेबल्स में 0.5% की ग्रोथ देखी गई थी इन 8 मंथ्स हाई. सो कंपेरेटिव ट्रेंड्स की भी बात यहाँ पर की गई है. जुलाई 2025 में 3.5% की ग्रोथ हुई थी, वेयर एज जुलाई 2024 में 7.9% की ग्रोथ हुई है. करंट ग्रोथ इज स्लोअर, तो ये इंडिकेट करता है क्योंकि इस समय 3.5% है एंड लास्ट ईयर इट वॉज 7.9%, सो करंट ग्रोथ स्लोअर है. सो इंडेक्स ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल प्रोडक्शन, दैट इज IIP, shows cyclic fluctuations. Now, what is the significance of this? Industrial recovery seen despite the global uncertainties. So, this is a positive sign for investment cycle due to the capital goods and consumer durables growth. Mining contraction remains a challenge, impacts raw material availability, highlights the importance of monsoon linked demand in India's growth pattern. So, what are the probable questions? सबसे पहले, इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ इन इंडिया इज अनइवन अक्रॉस द सेक्टर्स, डिस्कस विद रेफरेंस टू IIP ट्रेंड्स इन 2025. दूसरा है, एग्जामिन द रोल ऑफ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग एंड कैपिटल गुड्स सेक्टर्स इन रिवाइविंग द इंडियाज इकोनॉमिक ग्रोथ. तीसरा जो है आपका, माइनिंग सेक्टर इन इंडिया is facing consistent contraction, suggest policy measures to address the challenge. Now this is very important. Mining sector constantly face कर रहा है contraction, so उसमें policy measures suggest करने चाहिए और वो policy measures ऐसे होने चाहिए that should address the challenges. So you need to write the answers over it. आप prelims में कैसे आ सकता है, जो आपका IIP है, दैट इज़ इंडेक्स ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल प्रोडक्शन, इस पर थोड़ा सा ध्यान दे दीजिएगा कि कौन से मिनिस्ट्रीज़ को रिलीज़ करती है, और उसके अलावा कंपोनेंट्स क्या हैं IIP मेजर करने के, दैट इज़ इंडेक्स ऑफ इंडस्ट्रियल प्रोडक्शन. सो सच काइंड ऑफ क्वेश्चंस कैन बी आस्क्ड इन प्रीलिम्स. सो नेक्स्ट आपका टॉपिक है इंडियाज़ डेमोग्राफिक डिविडेंड एज अ टाइम बॉम्ब. So if we talk about the context of this article, India has the world's largest youth population, around, that is approximately 65%. ये 65% जो हैं, they are below 35 years. So while considered a demographic asset, it risks turning into a liability due to lack of jobs, poor skill development and mismatch between education and industry needs. So what are the key issues? Skill gap and mismatch, AI and automation. 7 out of 10 Indian jobs are at risk, as said by 2030 McKinsey. मतलब 2030 तक जो है 10 में से 7 जॉब्स जो हैं वो रिस्क पे रहेंगी. क्यों? ड्यू टू AI एंड ऑटोमेशन. So 40 to 50% of Indian university graduates remain unemployable due to poor alignment with market needs. STEM graduates, especially the engineers, face difficulty in employability. Education industry disconnect, curricula not aligned with the rapidly changing job market, focus on the role learning and exam preparation rather than employability skills. Only 45% of the graduates are employable as per the graduate skills index 2023. अब इस इंडेक्स को रिलीज़ करते हैं मर्सर मेटल. Let me write down the spelling. So unemployability and underemployment are the main focus in this article. So many youth are employed in low paying or irrelevant jobs over dependence on traditional degrees instead of vocational or skill based training, risk of increasing frustration and social unrest. Government schemes like Skill India Mission, PMKVY, Jan Shikshan Sansthan, PM Internship Scheme, and National Education Policy 2020, but fragmented, poor monitoring, lack of integration and with the industry. अब अगर हम अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ की बात करें तो if harnessed, India's youth can fuel growth in manufacturing, digital economy, green jobs, and services. So, global digital transformation and AI offer new opportunities if youth are properly skilled. Demographic window will last only till 2040. Urgent need to act. Now, what are the challenges which are mentioned over here? सबसे पहले jobless growth despite high GDP growth, weak vocational or technical training ecosystem, regional and gender disparity in employability, risk of demographic disaster if aspirations remain unmet. What should be the way forward? सबसे पहले तो there should be an aligned curricula with market and future technologies. There should be focus on practical, vocational, digital and soft skills. Also, there should be internship, apprenticeships, lift projects, etc. And there should be holistic policy in integration, which should unify the fragmented schemes under one umbrella. So, inclusive growth should have special focus on women, rural youth, and informal sector workers. So, if we talk about the probable questions, सबसे पहले India's demographic dividend could turn into a demographic disaster if not managed properly. Discuss with examples. दूसरा, examine the challenges in the India's skill development ecosystem and suggest reforms to harness the demographic advantage. तीसरा, critically analyze the role of education system in addressing India's unemployment crisis. So इस तरीके के questions आ सकते हैं. So next आपका टॉपिक है बिल्डिंग हेल्थ फॉर 1.4 बिलियन इंडियंस. सो यहाँ पर मैं इस आर्टिकल के बेसिक कंटेक्स्ट के बारे में बताऊँ. सो इंडियाज़ हेल्थ केयर सिस्टम इज़ एट अ क्रिटिकल इन्फ्लेक्शन पॉइंट. चैलेंजेस क्या है? एक्सपैंड एक्सेस फॉर अंडर रिजर्व्ड मिलियंस while ensuring affordability amidst the rising cost. So this requires an integrated framework: insurance, digital adoption, preventive care, regulation and investment. Insurance as the foundation of affordability. Pooling risk is the most effective to make healthcare affordable. Next, modest premiums की बात की गई है, जहाँ पर there should be some categories with respect to individuals and families which will shield against the catastrophic cost. इंश्योरेंस पोटेंशियल की भी बात, पेनिट्रेशन लो की बात की गई, दैट इंश्योरेंस पेनिट्रेशन इज़ लो, दैट इज़ अराउंड 15 to 18% ऑफ द इंडियंस आर कवर्ड. प्रीमियम टू GDP रेशियो 3.7%, बिलो ग्लोबल एवरेज 7.7%. करंट मार्केट्स की अगर मैं बात करूँ तो $15 billion आर प्रोजेक्टेड टू ग्रो 20% CAGR till 2030. What is the need of it? Expand beyond crisis, cover, ensure universal health security. Then insurance must ensure fair settlement, transparency and viability for the providers. So if we talk about the prevention as a cost saver, 60% of the healthcare spending is on outpatient care, especially NCDs, that is the non-communicable diseases. Focus on preventive care, screening, early diagnostic, lifestyle interventions. Public participation is crucial, where awareness campaigns, employer-led wellness, and community-based initiatives should be taken on. Preventive health saves long-term cost, reduces hospitalization, and boosts productivity. So, if we talk about the digital health and technology, telemedicine and AI can bridge urban-rural healthcare gaps. Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission plus teleconsultation with shared medical records, continuity of care, enables cardiologists in metros to guide patients to remote villages, democratization of the healthcare through digital innovation. Now, if we talk about the regulation and trust, innovation promises, but lack of trust hinders the adoption. IRDAI is strengthening the grievances redressal, settlement rules, and regulation of pricing. Government considering 10 to 15% pollution premium on insurance for pollution linked diseases. So there is a premium for pollution linked diseases also. Insurance. Need robust regulation plus fair pricing to build public confidence in insurance. Now, what is the way forward discussed over here? Expand insurance penetration with affordability, premiums, and transparency. Focus on preventive healthcare to tackle rising NCD burden. Then, scale digital health infrastructure for rural and under-reserved areas. Strengthen regulatory framework to ensure fair practices and public trust. Boost investment in tier 2 or 3 cities with focus on primary care and training. Move from episodic care to continuous universal health care. So if we talk about the probable questions, पहला ऐसे आ सकता है, insurance can be the foundation of affordable healthcare in India. Critically analyze it. दूसरा ऐसे आ सकता है, discuss the role of digital health and preventive care in reshaping India's healthcare system. तीसरा ऐसे आ सकता है, examine the challenges of low insurance penetration and suggest measures to build trust in India's health insurance sector. Next आपका टॉपिक है डेजा वू. India must cut monsoon vulnerabilities, not just build the response abilities. So heavy rains in the northern India have caused widespread destruction, exposing the country's increasing vulnerability to monsoon extremes. Himachal Pradesh, Jammu and Kashmir, Punjab and Delhi witnessed floods, landslides and loss of lives and farmland. Erratic concentrated rainfall and swollen rivers indicate growing unpredictability of the monsoons, amplifying immediate damage and erosion, particularly in the fragile Himalayan regions and slopes. Despite repeated calamities, disaster preparedness remains inadequate. Relief operations dominate responses, but preventive strategies such as slope stabilization, catchment protection, afforestation, and early warning systems are under implemented. So, short term relief without long term planning perpetuates the cycle of loss. Denuded slopes, shrinking catchments, and unchecked infrastructure expansion have increased the risk. Sustainable infrastructure, scientific road building, and effective warning systems are crucial. The article stresses that India must shift from reactive relief to proactive mitigation, systematically addressing vulnerabilities before disasters strike, ensuring resilience rather than recurring the devastation. So this is important with respect to NDRF, SDRF, and disaster management. That how such issues should be addressed. Next आपका टॉपिक है, should states be compensated for the revenue loss from the GST reforms? So basically this article highlights about the debate which has started recently due to the recent reforms after Prime Minister Narendra Modi's call for next generation GST. While the government aims to rationalize tax slabs by merging the rates, example shifting goods from 28% to 18% or 12% to 5%, concerns remain over the state's revenue losses. When GST was introduced in 2017, the centre guaranteed compensation to the states for 5 years to offset the loss from the new tax regime. That period has ended, leaving the states anxious about the financial shortfalls, especially smaller ones heavily dependent on GST revenue. So experts they argue that while simplification of GST can ease the compliance and lower cost, States must be supported through transparent mechanism and possibly renewed compensation frameworks. Without such support, states must cut spending or raise their own taxes, burdening the citizens. The challenge lies in balancing tax rationalization with fiscal federalism, ensuring GST remains a good and simple tax without eroding the state finances. So next आपका टॉपिक है which sectors are worst hit by the US tariffs. So the new US tariffs on Indian exports are expected to significantly impact multiple sectors, with shrimp, textiles, diamond and jewelry among the worst hit. Shrimp alone accounted for $2.7 billion, that is 12% of the India's total exports to US, and faces a steep 65% import tariff. Exports are rushing shipments before the higher tariffs take place, but long-term demand is likely to fall further. Other sectors at risk include cotton yarns, garments and engineering goods like the steel, aluminium, castings and mechanical appliances. Smaller exporters in Andhra Pradesh, Gujarat and Tamil Nadu may suffer disproportionately. Moderate impact is expected on the sectors such as organic chemicals, spices and machinery. The Indian government is working on temporary relief measures such as the financial support to help affected industries while negotiating with the US for tariff adjustments. So overall, the tariff highlight vulnerabilities in India's export dependency and call for diversification of the markets. Next आपका टॉपिक है why US is ending duty free imports of low value goods. So US has ended duty free imports of low value goods, that is under $800 per package, effective from August 28 to prevent misuse, counterfeit inflows and intellectual property theft. Previously, individuals could import items like apparel, electronics and cosmetics without the tariffs under the de minimis, let me write down the spelling, de minimis regulation, which fueled a surcharge in e-commerce deliveries, especially from the Chinese platform. Critics argue that the system allowed unfair competition as foreign sellers could evade duties while US retailers faced taxes. So the new rule mandates duties for all such imports, aiming to balance domestic trade. Internationally, parallels exist like the EU's Euro 22 cap on the duty-free imports. The measure is expected to disrupt global e-commerce supply chains, increase costs for consumers, and particularly affect small businesses reliant on the cross-border sales. While it strengthens US trade protection, it also risks retaliatory measures and could also burden the postal or courier systems. The move signals a broader shift towards protectionism in global trade. So this is the last topic of the day: security agreement, business pacts, bullet train ride on PM's Japan agenda. So इसका basic context है, PM Narendra Modi visits Japan for a 2-day trip to expand economic, strategic and security cooperation, accompanied by the Japanese counterpart Shigeru Ishiba. Modi will travel on the Shinkansen bullet train to Sendai. की एजेंडा क्या है? सबसे पहले सिक्योरिटी कोऑपरेशन है. This will upgrade to 2008 declaration on security cooperation, enhance hardware purchases, critical minerals access and AI collaboration. This will also align with the Indo-Pacific security architecture to counterbalance China. दूसरा क्या एम है? Economic and trade engagements, focus on investment and technology. Japan's investment in India to around $68 billion by 2024. Currently क्या है? 43.2 billion है. ठीक है. So this is a cumulative investment. Japan, 5th largest source of FDI in India. About 100 B2B agreements expected in various sectors. तीसरा area of cooperation would be the infrastructural cooperation. Visit to Shinkansen's factory of East Japan Railway Company. Review progress on Mumbai Ahmedabad bullet train project, which would be the largest overseas Japanese investment. Symbol of bilateral technological partnership. Then strategic and regional dialogue की भी बात की गई है. Joint statement as a part of 2025 vision statement building on 2013 agreement with the Shinzo Abe. Then discussions on Indo-Japan and Indo-Pacific summit that was delayed. 15th annual summit. Talks on India, US, Japan, trilateral issues and regional security. Modi's onward travel to attend the SCO summit. Meetings with Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin. सॉफ्ट डिप्लोमेसी भी एक एरिया है वेयर पीएम मोदी विल मीट द इंडियन डायस्पोरा इन टोक्यो. एम क्या है? टू स्ट्रेंथन द कल्चरल एंड पीपल टू पीपल टाइज. सो यू नो देयर कैन बी क्वेश्चंस विथ रिस्पेक्ट टू दिस ऑल्सो. सबसे पहला ऐसे आ सकता है, डिस्कस द रोल ऑफ जापान in India's infrastructure development and special reference to Mumbai Ahmedabad bullet train project. तीसरा ऐसे आ सकता है, critically analyze the impact of India Japan 2008 security declarations and its proposed agenda. सी डायरेक्टली तो नहीं आएगा, इनडायरेक्टली आपसे पूछ सकते हैं. तीसरा ऐसे आ सकता है, examine the significance of India Japan cooperation in Indo-Pacific in the backdrop of regional security challenges. So that's all for the day. Here I end my analysis. Thank you and have a nice day. I request you to like, subscribe and share my channel.